Hello and welcome to the FSF PopCast Live Edition.
Hello, kids and cadets, children of all ages.
That's me.
That's you, yes. Welcome, you fellow nerds, to the FSF PopCast. This is our Live at 5. And for the last 6 weeks, this is the 6th week, actually. The last 5 weeks, rather, we have been covering Marvel's Secret Invasion. It releases every Wednesday. We've been coming on. We've been talking about it. We've been having a lot of fun. But today is the series finale of Marvel's Secret Invasion. And there is so much to talk about. This was kind of a big episode, and we'll get into it in the meat and potatoes of it here in just a moment. But so just as a reminder, because we are talking about something that came out today, this is Marvel's Secret Invasion. That had the wrong episode number on that. You did not notice that. Waves Jedi hand. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to be talking about things that are actually happened today. If you haven't seen the episode, this is your spoiler warning. So spoiler alert. You have been alerted, you have been warned that we are going to talk about things that happened in today's episode, the season finale of Marvel's Secret Invasion. So first things first, John, before we get into anything else, what was your initial reaction, your first thoughts of today's episode?
At first that was quick. Like it seemed like they tried to pack a lot into a very short time.
Because they did.
They did.
It was that episode was clicking right along.
Right. It almost seemed rushed. I mean, even the last 30 seconds of the show could have been like almost a full episode of its own.
Oh, I thought so. I didn't realize that we were ending when it ended. I thought that was going to be a little bit more of a step off point and some story build there.
Right.
And we'll get into that here in a few minutes as to what exactly we're talking about. But yeah, so I had many of the same feelings. I thought that it was, it went quick, but I thought it was action packed. I thought that for the time of what they did use, and I didn't check the actual runtime on today's episode. I didn't check the length.
38 minutes.
Was that all it was? 38 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. I just know that in watching it, I was like, wow, this is going along really quick. And then when it was over, I was like, oh, it's already done. Okay. So yeah. I was a little disappointed in that, but I was hoping that it might have lasted longer than it did. Mm-hmm. That's your wife. Okay. So anyway, we're not going to read that one audibly. It was bad enough.
I'm in danger.
Yes, you are. So yeah, honestly, so speaking of disappointed that people didn't show up, the one thing that I was honestly kind of half expecting in the season finale, I really expected to see a Carol Danvers sighting. At least one of the Marvels. At least one, if not all three, but at least one. And my expectation was Carol Danvers because of her relationship with Fury.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't expect it was because I watched the Marvels trailer and I saw she was still off in deep space. But that's meta thinking.
That supersonic light flight thing that zooms across the sky. Yeah, she could have been here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, it would have been kind of cool to see her or anybody show up. Goose, you got a flare gun out there? Ernie's got to go.
Ernie's got to go. So yeah,
we don't have many tentacles in the house.
That was the only thing that I was expecting, in all honesty, was I was expecting to see some level of, because, this show, in my opinion, is, from what we have seen of it, and what we've seen of sneak peeks of the Marvels movie coming, is that this looks like it's a launching point going into the movie. So the closest we got was one of the characters, exhibiting a few things. So, we can talk about this here in just a second, but the things leading up to it. But I'm going to throw this picture up on the screen anyway, because although we didn't get a Marvel sighting, we did get to see Captain Marvel's powers show up with Super Gaia.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about what led up to that. Now, when I will tell you this, we were told early on in the series, don't trust anyone, don't trust anything that you see. But in this episode, I bit into it hardcore that was actually Nick Fury standing in front of Gravik.
Yeah. Yeah, me too at first. Because
Yeah.
Gaia sold it so well.
Oh, yeah. Up into the point where, they got put in the supers chamber, and you got to see that whole list of all the supers, the powers that they were playing with, and especially because now with the harvest and that was a pure harvest, and all that. Yeah, I really thought that was going to be a little more, I can't think of the word that I'm looking for here. But
yeah. So going back to Gaia impersonating Fury, I'm a little confused about earlier in the episode when Fury calls his wife.
Right.
Because, I mean, it looks like Fury, it sounds like Fury, but in the background is the car that Gaia used to get into Russia.
Right.
So was that actually Fury before they split up, or was that Gaia? Or, what do you think?
Maybe. Honestly, I up until the fact of seeing the fight between Gaia and Gravik, I thought Fury was Fury.
Yeah.
So everything up to that point, I had written off in my brain as being Nick Fury. The interactions between him and his wife, Fury. The interactions, everything else, Fury. And so going to, the Russian center and all that, I assumed that was all Nick Fury.
Right.
Up until they went into the chamber, and she comes out with, looking like this.
Yeah.
The powers of all of them being super Gaia.
Right. Which, that was pretty cool. It's nice to see that many powers thrown around in one fight scene. Now we know where the series budget went.
A lot of CGI in that last about 10, 15 minutes.
That's why they couldn't have any more extras in the hospital. They had to pay for CG. And since they can't just AI the characters into the background yet.
Exactly. Yeah, the fight between Gravik and Gaia, they're both exhibiting all the different powers. You see Gravik, he had the ears of abomination. He had somebody else's powers too. It almost looked like he was the rocks of the thing.
Korg.
Spots.
He was Korg.
Oh, was that Korg? Yeah, that would make sense, actually. Yeah, that would make sense. Okay. But I was kind of hoping that was maybe one of the ways that they were introducing Fantastic Four. Like, look, he used his powers.
Well, yeah, but Josh Schubart is still talking to us about this. So, obviously they haven't cast the thing yet.
Well, yes, because Josh Schubart is going to be the thing. Has to be the thing. Hashtag Schubart's clobbering time.
Indeed.
So it's entirely possible, Kathleen, that the production company could have afforded more. And did they want to? Probably, but hard to say, really. Disney has been very confusing about what they're going to spend on Marvel and Star Wars as of late. So they talk about this way and then they go that way. So it's kind of hard to figure out.
Right.
But I did think that I wish that they would have made the fight between Gaia and Gravik a little bit longer. For the build up and lead up to that fight, although it was fun to watch, I thought it was over too soon.
Yeah, usually.
And for him to be the big bad of the series and all that, I just thought, for being equal in power, pretty much, he went down too soon.
He also wasn't used to actually fighting anybody on even footing.
Okay, I'll give you that.
He didn't think he would actually have to fight somebody at his level. He was always willing to take the cheap shots.
Which is why he killed all his underlings.
Right. Which, when Guy is walking in, the first scroll that she sees when she's walking in, that's the one she recruited in the first episode.
Right.
So, there was an emotional moment there for not Fury. But, yeah, when somebody's used to fighting, like, just always punching down, when somebody finally punches level at them, it's a surprise.
Agreed. No, I'll give you that one. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it from that angle, but yeah, I just wanted a little bit more out of that fight than You're ignoring that comment too. Okay, good.
Yep.
All right. So
We both saw it.
that's your wife.
That is my wife.
That is your wife. All right. So yeah. So then we're talking about it. So we might as well put it up on the screen. He's dead. Graphic is dead. The big bad.
Yep.
He's 86. So I had kind of wondered throughout the course of this show if he was actually going to make it to the Marvels movie and be the big bad of that movie.
That could have been cool.
That's kind of what I thought that this was leading up to. And then once he got all these powers and was a super Skrull, after he got the harvest and he was in there, I kind of thought for a minute that because thinking it was Fury in the power chamber with him, getting microwaved, I thought for sure that that Gravik was going to go on and into the next movie. So, but
I'm ignoring that one too, Kathleen. Anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, and it could have been cool to save the Super Skrulls for the Fantastic Four. Maybe actually use the original Super Skrull method of sealing those 4 powers, but this was cool. I liked it. Some deviation from the original source material, and I'm going to keep talking over Kathleen's comments because that's what I do. Just to make Tim laugh and get myself in trouble.
You kids are cute.
We try.
Okay, so before we get towards anything towards the end of the episode, because I also want to talk about the end of the episode and what we saw there. You said you had some thoughts and theories, and I want to know what those thoughts and theories are.
Okay, which thoughts and theories?
You said that in our pre-show, you had likened what happened today to the 1980s wonderful movie called Spies Like Us.
Okay, so that was this morning before I'd had a chance to think about it. I had come fresh off watching the episode, and I was annoyed with how short it was, with how, I don't know, it didn't feel like a solid ending,
Okay.
Felt like this could have just been a series of, post and mid-credit scenes for the last few years. What was the show for? It ended kind of, Fury didn't really do anything. He came down from space. He went back up to space. The Skrulls are still here. If anything, he kind of made it worse because instead of just being one centralized group of, they fragmented, and now there's fighting all across the planet. It's Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark all over again. But then I realized as I'm scrolling through Reddit on my lunch break everybody's complaining about this and how bad the story seems. And they're all blaming the writers. They're saying how bad the writing on this show is. And I don't think it was bad writing. I think it was bad editing.
I thought it was written very well.
Yeah. But so many people are jumping on how bad the story was that there are all these loose ends. And on some level, my tinfoil hat, like aluminum foil hat, because we're cheap, like Kathleen just said, is that Disney kind of edited this in a certain way to make the writing look a little worse than it was for their own reasons. Maybe.
Hard to say. They knew what was coming up.
Yeah.
There was an actors and writers strike coming, so.
But because like I said a few minutes ago, the last 30 seconds could have been like half an episode with all the uprising against Skrulls and political leaders and all of those shenanigans happening on live TV.
Right, the president's attack on the Skrulls and how that really flamed, or fanned the flames rather of what was going on, and really kind of a political social commentary on our world today. When one guy says this, the leader of whatever, all the people who listen to him go, and do that thing, and we've seen how that's happened and played out in real life.
Right. Although I thought the line about it being a one-term presidency now ties in nicely to Harrison Ford coming in.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's just setting up that transition. That's great. I love that.
Yeah. I did think that I'm going to show this our last slide for today, but this scene here where Sonya's talking with Gaia and talking about the team up between her and her people and Gaia. I was kind of hoping that they would talk about that a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, well, it's, you're going to use me and I'm going to use you, and we'll use each other, and, it's going to work out for everybody. And that it just kind of, it was done.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah. Can I just say Sonya is my favorite character to come out of the post-Endgame MCU?
Oh, she's freaking amazing.
I absolutely love her. She's on that fine line of, if she says or does the wrong thing to the wrong person, we're going to hate her forever. But she is fabulous. She is probably the best.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she's a terrible person, but she does it so well.
It's just fantastic about it. I think I said it last episode. I think I called it sassy sarcasm, and she just grabs it and goes with it, and I love that.
I know. She's my absolute favorite sassy pink-clad British woman in film and television.
Yeah, she's an amazing character, and I'm hoping that as we move forward with this next phase in the MCU, that we see more of her in different roles and different things. Not different roles, but in different movies. The same character doing the same thing, but interacting with Fury and helping Fury in different ways, because he goes back up to Saber, and
yeah. He just went back, but I mean, at least he took his wife with him this time. He should be in a little less trouble.
He should be. He should be.
Maybe.
But as you're about to find out, that can happen very quickly. All right. So let's talk overall thoughts of the series, and where do you think this goes from here?
Overall thoughts is, this is a great way of tying Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel and WandaVision to the upcoming Marvels movie. I think it kind of fills in those gaps. I will shave my head. Yes.
An eye patch.
Right. Because we've seen some shows that tried to transition between different projects, not so successfully, in other franchises. But I think this did a pretty good job of explaining why things had moved in the direction they have.
Yeah, I think it's a good transition show for sure.
Yeah.
I saw it as a transition show. I saw it as a setup show. I saw it as because they had to have a way. I mean, even though at the end of the Ms. Marvel series, we see Carol there, but really wasn't explained how Carol got there. Just kind of, there was just kind of that change that happened there.
Right.
And so what I thought is that this show did a good job of bringing us to the point where now we need to see what happens, because Fury has set it back up into place for this to happen, and and for the with the Skrulls and everything else. And I am very curious to see where Gaia, in fact, where Super Gaia fits into all of this, because quite frankly, Gaia could be the most powerful person in the MCU.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be hard for me to see somebody who could rival her strengths and what she can do, because she's got a hot mess concoction of everyone inside of her.
She's got Thanos and Abomination and Captain America and
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody. And that her using Captain Marvel's powers to take out Gravik
was cool.
Was really cool.
I was like, oh, that's smart. Shoot him through the stomach. All right.
Right. Yeah. And, I mean, sure, you can use Extremis to heal, a bullet wound to the cheek, but somebody blowing out your spine and your abdomen and most of your organs, you're not going to bounce back from that.
That's a one-way ticket to Tombstone Town.
Oh, yeah.
So, that was the one part about the fight where I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see what happens with her and where they take her character from here. Does she go into hiding? Does she, just come out and live as a Skrull because she's a super Skrull? She can do whatever she wants. And frankly, you're going to have a hard time killing her with just bullets and things. So
yeah,
what goes on with her from here? So
yeah. And how's Sonya going to use her?
Yes.
Because now she has all that DNA.
Yeah. How are they going to work together? Now and the one question that I do have about the, because I don't think this is a writing issue. I think this, again, I will agree with you. I think it's an editing issue. The Fury that we saw at the last episode getting the harvest.
Yeah.
Was that Fury? And if so, how did the harvest go from Fury to Gaia? We saw no handoff, no changeover. We don't even know how those two, everybody's working together, in this instance.
But if we saw that handoff, we saw that exchange, it would have given away the twist of that being Gaia.
No, and I get that.
Yeah.
But we also don't know how they, there should have been some. Not that I need to have everything set out on a silver platter in front of me. But I do think that it does create a bit of a gap in the story when you have, this person going off and doing this thing and this other crew going off and doing this thing. And ostensibly, they're working together, but we're not being shown how. So, like I said, I don't have to have it all laid out in a silver platter for me. But on the other hand, I'd kind of like to see some loose connection, even if after it was all said and done, it was like a backflash.
Right.
So
yeah, because a good heist movie, they don't show you all the planning necessarily. They just show you the heist happen, and then how they did it.
Correct, and that's kind of what I was hoping for, because this whole series, I've seen it as a spy thriller, as something that very much not a superhero type deal until the last 15, 20 minutes of this episode. Then it became very superhero very quickly. So I was kind of hoping that somewhere in between the end of the spy thriller scene feel and into the superhero feel, that somewhere in that neighborhood, that's where I was hoping for the revelation of, hey, this is how Gaia got the harvest from Fury, and this is how they set their plan in action for Sonya and Fury to go here and Gaia to go here as Fury and all these things. But I can live without knowing, I suppose. It'll only mostly drive me insane.
Right. So the thing that's driving me insane is Rhodey. Because he had trouble walking.
How did nobody pick up on the fact that he was walking fine throughout the whole series?
Well, because, when we see him after Civil War, a few times, he's had help from, Stark Technology. He's had physical therapy. But
he races all the time.
Right. But in this one, the gown he's wearing is very similar to the one that he went into the MRI in at the end of Civil War.
Right.
So how long has he been missing?
So I'm thinking pretty much since then.
Maybe, which then means that wasn't really him at Tony's funeral.
It puts into a lot of questions with some of the stuff. Yeah. It makes you think back to a lot of things. Yeah, for sure.
Really does. Yeah. So his conversation with Nebula about how she wishes that she could be different than she is. And he's like, me too. Well, okay. Was that Rhodey or was that Scrody?
Good question.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch everything now with is this a Skrull?
Right. But no. All right. Okay. So entire series, looking back over it on a scale of 1 to 5, how many stars are you giving?
I'm going to give it 4.
Okay.
It would be 5, but the ending just felt kind of rushed and crammed together to me. So,
okay.
But definitely a solid watch.
I was going to give it 3 3/4.
Okay.
So I don't think we're too far apart. I think we have some of the same feelings. I think we have some of the same frustrations.
I think so.
But overall, I think it's a solid watch, and I think it sets up things nicely. In fact, probably right before I go to the theaters to see the Marvels movie, I'm probably going to sit down and watch this series over again. So,
yeah,
I think it'd be a solid watch and probably a darn good idea. So,
I agree.
All right. Well, very cool, guys. Hey, that has been our review of Secret Invasion, and we we'll probably be coming back to you next week with next few weeks actually, with a couple more live at 5s, going back to our typical top 5 programming up until, Ahsoka comes out at the end of next month with a 2-episode release on August 23rd, and I am so stinking excited about that. It's not even funny. So But yeah, so if you're wondering where you can find the FSF PopCast and the rest of our locations, we are, of course, here on YouTube. If you haven't already, please click like and subscribe. Help us to continue to grow. Help us to get some amazing guests for you guys to be able to enjoy and listen to. But you can also find us on all your favorite audio podcast providers, such as shown on the screen, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, and many others. And of course, as you see in the banner, tick-tocking across the bottom of the screen, you can find us on Patreon. And I added 15 minutes of bonus clips and some information yesterday. We've got a new episode coming for our Stargate review very shortly, so you guys are going to want to check that out as well. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. And last Friday on our show, we released our interview with the writer of Sharknado 1 through 4, Thunder Levin, and I had an amazing chat with him. We talked about how he got into science fiction, the importance of Star Wars and Star Trek, on his love for science fiction, and even why writing Sharknado was a good idea. It's a pretty cool conversation, and Thunder is an awesome, awesome dude. This Friday, however, you can watch or listen to, either way you want to go, our interview with F.J. DeSanto, who is the executive producer of a lot of the Transformers miniseries that have come out over the last 4 years, like War for Cybertron, Power of the Primes, and a few others. And he is also a massive Star Wars fan with a trivia level that's pretty impressive. So yeah, so you might want to check that out if you're a fan of Star Wars and if you're a fan of Transformers. And you don't have to wait until Friday. You can get that episode on our Patreon page right now for as little as $3 a month. So go check that out. John, thanks for your help on this, and thanks for doing these live at fives. It's been a lot of fun, man.
It has. Looking forward to Ahsoka too.
Absolutely. We'll pick that up here in just a couple weeks. So yeah. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here, get out of this in under 30 minutes. That's almost a record. So we were almost going to, do the same runtime as the show today in our review, but we skimped on it a little bit. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Remember, click like and subscribe. Goodbye.
Bye.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of the FSF PopCast, we want to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on a future episode, please contact us by means of Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FSF PopCast, or go to www.fsfpopcast.com and click on the contact link. Thanks again, and hope you enjoyed the episode.